you consider yourself to be a star seed, earth angel, or a chosen one, you may have felt like a lone wolf at some point in your life, or perhaps your entire life. In this video, I'm going to share a story with you as to why trying to fit in may not be in your best interest. As long as I can remember, I've never felt like I fit in, and I've never felt like planet Earth was my true home. The earliest memory I have is myself as a child laying in my crib, and even though I was too young to walk or understand English, I could hear this yelling and screaming coming from another room. And so I used my hands to pull myself up in my crib, and the more I connected with this yelling and screaming that was coming from the other room, the more negative energy I could feel that was associated with it. And I began to cry, and eventually would just lay back down and cry myself to sleep. I found myself in an environment where yelling and screaming and swear words were as common as the ABCs. I remember this one time that the argument got so heated between my parents that my mom decided to pick up a knife and chase my dad around the house. So I started running with my dad, pleading for my mom to drop the knife and stop, and eventually we ran into a room where we slammed the door shut. And I remember sitting there with my back to the door, and the next thing I felt was all these thumps as my mom began kicking the door, and my parents were screaming the most vicious words you could think of at each other. And I remember feeling wood chips falling on my head. And back in the day, there was the 2-ply thin doors, and when I looked up and seen this hole being punched through the door with this knife coming through it, I remember this feeling of disbelief come over my body, and that's when I passed out and had a soul fragmentation where the purest part of my soul left this incarnation. As soon as I was old enough to get out and start interacting with other human beings, I soon found myself being picked on, made fun of, and bullied everywhere I went. Being a tall, skinny kid with a girl's name like Ashley and having large pop bottle glasses definitely didn't help. At a young age, I started to attend my family's Roman Catholic church, where I was actually abused by the priest, and because of this horn pea flies demonic attachments, for 2 years every single night I would wake up screaming because I would have nightmares of demons attacking me. And it got to the point where my parents would just stop coming in and I would have to cry myself to sleep. Being raised in a family with overweight individuals that saw my skinniness as an issue, I was constantly reminded that something was wrong with me, and I was force-fed to eat unreasonably large-sized meals. And when I couldn't do that, I was punished by being forced to sit at the table for a half an hour while being told that I should be grateful for this food because people in Africa were dying. My mom would go and talk with every single one of my teachers, telling them that something was wrong with me and that they needed to make sure that I was eating my food. I remember one time my mom took me to the doctor and told me to take my shirt off, and as soon as the doctor came in, she started pointing at me saying, "Look how skinny he is, there's something wrong with him, what can we do?" Anytime I would speak my opinion, I found myself being locked in a washroom with a bar of soap in my mouth and told that if I made a sound that the timer would restart. Going to school was, for the most part, a nightmare. Nothing highlighted this feeling of not fitting in more than attending elementary school. It seemed like every lunch and recess break someone had a problem with me. I would constantly hear, "Hey, Four Eyes, do you know you have a girl's name, Four Eyes?" Was always picked last on the sports team. Having my hat taken from me, being verbally assaulted or punched in the face for no reason became an everyday occurrence. And I remember going home from school and just trying to figure out as to why I didn't fit in. And then I would experience, a chaotic environment at home. And, if I wasn't locked in my bathroom with a bar of soap in my mouth, I would consider it to be a good day. And then when I got to high school, my experience wasn't really that much different. Growing up, I had no identity, and my brother was always the popular one. He hung out with skaters, got attention from the ladies, had a lot of friends, and I was kind of the opposite. And so since I didn't know how to fit in, I just tried to copy my brother's identity, which got me into a group of individuals that were into things that I wasn't into, like fight nights when they would go, fight other individuals just because they went to another school, or these nights where they would go out and just vandalize and steal cars. And my attitude of disapproval obviously made me stand out like a sore thumb, and so I would find myself getting verbally assaulted or picked on. the list is endless. As soon as I turned 19 and discovered that I could drown out this reality that I never truly liked with alcohol, there was no turning back. All throughout my 20s, I was an alcoholic with a zero off switch. And in 2013, when my mom passed away from cancer, it was like the very next day I had this sudden spiritual awakening. I evaluated my life and saw nothing but pain, sadness, and anger, and that I was using alcohol to escape a reality I never really liked. And the more I thought about healing and changing the person that I'd become, the more impossible it felt. And so 13 months later, I attempted to leave this place, and that's when Archangel Michael appeared right before I could start my car in my garage. And ever since that day, I've had visitations from Archangel Michael, the soul of Jesus. In 2019, my relationship of 22 years came to a sudden end after a girls' night out, and I found myself moving back home, selling my 3-story house. And I soon realized that a job I'd been working at for 22 years was no longer capable of supporting me with these new child support payments. And my son would often get dropped off crying, telling me how he doesn't like the new situation and the new man that had come into my ex-wife's life. And, I hit rock bottom once again in 2020. And that's when I had a visitation from the soul of Jesus when I was having a shower at my old man's house. And all these memories started coming back to me, not only about past lives, but, who I am on the other side. And one of the things that I've come to learn is that the reason why planet Earth has never felt like home is because this planet is not my home. In fact, this universe is not even my home. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term Orphan Angel. It's basically like an archangel, but archangels stick to one universe, and I travel around multiple universes. And this explained to me as to why planet Earth has never felt like my home. And the reason why I've never felt like I fit in here is because I come from much higher vibrational, more loving realities than this one. And I was specifically asked to come here by Archangel Michael. That's why if you've never felt at home here on planet Earth, or if you've never felt like you fit in, there's a good chance it's because you're not from here. You're from a much more loving, high vibrational reality. And sometimes trying to fit in would mean that you have to lower your vibration and lower your consciousness. So if you find yourself on a lone wolf journey, just know that, there's a good reason why you don't fit in. And the only connection you truly need is with God. My name's Ashley Samborski. I'm now offering a healing service. You can check out my biography. It's called Finding Me, where I share with you many of the things that I've experienced in this lifetime. I have a brand new crystal jewelry line. It's all available on my website, ashleysamborski.com. Links in the bio will take you right there. Hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.